Welcome to All Right in Sin City, a podcast about writers and writing in the Windsor-Detroit region. Your podcasters today are
Irene Moore Davis, author, educator, and local historian.
Kim Conklin, Windsor-based writer and filmmaker.
and me, Sarah Jarvis, former bookseller, publishing rep, and literary festival chair.
This week's podcast brings you a variety of Detroit poets reading at Poets and Pies, a regular event hosted by the Detroit Writers Guild. This set of readings was recorded in August at the Clair Shores Library. First, we'll hear from Joyce Jenkins. Jenkins is a Detroit native who has spent much of her life in Berkeley, California. Joyce has long been a noted Bay Area poet and the editor of Poetry Flash, as well as the producer and sponsor of the Northern California Book Reviewers and the Northern California Book Awards.
I'm so thrilled and grateful to be here. I love coming here. And here's a little poem set in Berkeley. Peyote Poem 2. Each day dawns as a seed, night inside the day, pearl inside the orchid, the smooth wall inside the cave, seabed slick with moisture, the sharp scent of oxygen made by the algae in the mud mixed with pigeon scat, the wild parrots pirouette across the sky from tree to tree, wheeling and screeching their homage to free air and the pull of tides. Every step we take a wonder. The ground is strewn with microscopic miracles, little broken mirrors reflecting sky. One vibration, one oscillation, one EKG of shoreline, of star nursery nebulae cloud. Our minds dancing on the same rope line, up and down like a rodeo lasso, then flat on the floor. Inside the sexual oyster, we swoon. Here's this is a poem that I just put together for ML, and it's to celebrate your music anthology.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's just to bring it to mind. And soul work. If the world had a soul, the aim of poetry would be to reveal it for Ligeti. After Aretha Franklin and Van Morrison. Here's some soul work for you, where the inner world, the invisible world, overlaps the outer material world. The shape of the invisible is illumined. A fierce snow temperature heat is created, an inner burning, an outer bliss, an outer burning, an inner bliss. Making love is making soul, invisible energy, dark light. Can he understand that my bags are packed too? Anxiety comes in the separation, the ripping of inner from outer. It must be done carefully. A gentle lifting, no sound of ripping. Surrender gives permanence, gives possibility. But who can be trusted with a tambourine? When I hear those chords, Aretha, you make me feel, or Van, softer, a soul in wonder. I'm not alone. The soul stuff fills me. Invisible light, a rising heart. I'm just wild about it, just can't live without it.
Yeah! Woo!
So, okay, here's a poem. I also did live, to my credit, I hope, for a couple of years, 2.5 years, I think, in downtown by Wayne State on West Warren. and moved into an apartment there when I was 17. You can imagine what trouble that was. Oh my goodness. Whoa. Anyway, but I loved living there, and it was a very important part of my life. This is, where are you? Come on. It's a poem about growing up in the aforementioned Wayne. And it's called Childhood Radio Signal in the Alien Detroit Night.
Ooh. Yeah.
My chin on the cool sill. Green rocking chair, 60s pink daisies painted on the arms. Night rocket to the stars with transistor radio, batteries, and a slight burning smell. We lived in the same brick house with aluminum frames and different color bricks in the same subdivision. Handsome, athletic, fervent you and wavery, dreamy me. I had a flowering crabapple and a rock collection with crystals I could imagine came from the surface of the moon, while the woman next door had poodles, a tan, and décolletage. Your lawn had a lush, convex curve. My father also cleaned up, smelled good, but he never went anywhere that he wanted to go with my mother, as if she did not count, could not think, didn't know how to have a good time. I pondered, maybe Mom really didn't know what to do. Did women feel? Did they know what a good time was? Then what could I do if I was to be a woman? If it was inevitable, how could I stop the disintegration of personality, of character, of consciousness that came with the female body? Stop fecundity? The smell of grass and blood? That was new to me then. Sex seemed key, yet I hardly knew what it was. Did you, as you ran like an inspired automaton around the track? If a boy could talk to me through my body, I would still be human, if still a girl, and just maybe through the portal, the moment fueled by the magical realism of sex, there would be enough time, enough strength left over to be alive, to do something, to be something. This is what I thought. My window like a windshield deflecting insects at warp speed, riding the night radio, keening frequency, low crackling sound, gender misting the pavement in dark shrubs like dew, the whole street a big future, haunted mothership to space. I'm going to read a poem that you may have heard this before, and I'm sorry if you have, but I've been tinkering with it for years, and I'm finally done with it. I mean, I'm not done with the poem, but I finished.
Tinker.
Yes. And I believe in it, and it's about people I love very much and me and my life here. And it starts in Berkeley, goes around, goes through memories, and comes back here, goes back to California. Joy Road. No organism can afford to be conscious of matters with which it could deal at unconscious levels. Gregory Bateson. In summer, the song sings itself. William Carlos Williams. Joy Road is 2 Mile Road, part of the 1785 Detroit Land Ordinance. It runs from east to west. Memory explained, sweet honey poured on wounds to seal out air, promote healing. A breeze from the window threatens to blow out a strobe-like candle. It gleams through thick night, flickers the roadway faintly, rhythmically. Faraway stars, ghost ships, ancient internal, pressing. We drive on, from pillar to post, ponging miles and miles of gasless dark into our future, joined in our fears, driving a cardboard car, nailed to the stage. I love you. Ran out of gas on a west coast stabbed by moonlight, as bright as the night Custer attacked. Tree moon shadows, silver, unstable ground. Rocks and carrion rear over the road. Dead deer drape the highway. Lungs of the world, hacking, redwoods. Who can tell what to do in such circumstance? Lives layer like years of translucent wallpaper. The clock runs by us, stopping at the horror, I tell you, and yet we breathe. I can't tell you now why the radio plays and my nerves still bother to transmit sensation. Take joy to the airport. The road to joy is joy. You are not here. Rocks are no color in fog. It's all just a careful bowl of soup, trip flung into air. Electricity and eternal surprise. It's Joy Road. The road to joy is joy. The turning globe, gash of earth covered with angel wing. Who can tell how vast the shadow behind night clouds, how deep the silent ocean trench breathes sea, what lights the unknown cavern, the posthumously phosphorus genius brain in its green formaldehyde bath, a shroud, a body bag made out of light. Above the silent roadside porches, vacuum tubes sewn dormant in attic dust, wait to combust. Longing for what? He tells me about Joy Road. His high school was on Joy Road, the one he was afraid to go to, except when he slept on its snowy roof in the triangle exhale of the heating vent. Hope's Fish and Chips, Dope House, Joy Road Heroin Industries, run by the neighborhood's finest. The clinic where his mother worked, where his little brother took him, blasted nose and head, raging cocaine sores. He picked up pizza and pierogi for the kids, his brother and sister. Follow the dotted line, east to danger, then west to freedom, in a circle round the cul-de-sac. Make it easy for the same cop who waits for you at both ends. Put the toolboxes in front of the door. Heap your medicine on the glass coffee table. The high cost of living ain't nothing to the cost of living high, says Hepatitis C in a wide-brimmed Panama with a feather. Always make sure your shoes are shined, said his grandpop on Joy Road. His pop drove bam through the window of Grandy Ballroom, home of big band dancing, then Big Brother and the holding company, Janis Joplin weeping as she held the note, while Poppy played the horses, almost lost the house. He was a proud door-to-door salesman. You, grandson, got the gift of tool and die, and Grandma wore her green bathrobe over her clothes. You strung her canned ham like a ruby on a pendant, award it for safekeeping to a new family member at Christmas every year. Tell me about being afraid to go home as we drive past the play-by-play lounge. Standing under a streetlight, fury rolls off me like steam. You brought me to your pal's drunk mother's garage and she kicked us out. Your eyes dead, no apology, no response. Your spirit still curled up on the high school roof. Baby harmonica, wedding ring, swinging from a fine gold chain. Never thought you owed me. I was wrong. No sidewalks in Carland, but liquor on the corner, joy riding like a dewdrop on a blade, ice skating on a chlorophyll pearl, roads wrap around it, from past to present, east to west, from there to here like copper wire, making a battery, sending out energy, a beacon. Stunned breast pops unbidden out of halter top on the way from the reaching cooler. I'm 17. The cops think I'm a professional, streetwalker that is. Cruise up, shine a light, ask the price. It's Joy Road. The road is joy. Bus line, endless wait, sitting on a curb at the corner gas station, Innocence lost on the way to the bridal shower, never made it just as well. The wedding a total disaster. Teenagers making out with partners chosen by roulette. Parents' marriages melting down in the hissing cauldron of the shape-shifting 60s. I never got back to you. I never found you. If I leaned, you stepped back again. Your eyes haunted, furtive, stepped back into darkness, untouchable behind the veil. Hiding to sleep on the roof beside the vent, warm air marking the small space of safe. No one would find you, safe and calm, lonely but safe. The stars, little marionettes, our strings were pulled. The forces set in motion pushed us apart. A huge magnetic field, polarized and blind as a one-eyed storm. Dope house in the sky, Joy Road. The road to joy is joy. Drifting through lush suburban park, degrade red brick of city, feathery greens and fennel in the licorice air. I don't know if we were married, your photo in a shadowed frame. Better I should think of you in summer, when others have gone to bed, after the golden light lifts the hills. Somewhere, gravity thrashing, you are tossing your head like a fine young colt.
Our next poet is Carolyn Maun. Maun teaches creative writing in American literature at Wayne State University, and she's the chair of the English department. She's also the editor of The Collected Poetry of Evelyn Scott and author of Mosaic of Fire, the work of Lola Ridge, Evelyn Scott, Charlotte Wilder, and Kay Boyle. Her poetry publications include the volumes The Sleeping and What Remains.
I have brought some new things, relatively new. These are things that I've written in the last year or so. And my father keeps popping up, so watch out. This is called A Life I Invented. Look for the last time at the single box of things that remain of the father, too furry with mold to save. Remember his silences, sinews pinched to control moods? A daughter must have been a terrible risk, or at least a poor investment, always depreciating, unlikely to hold value. He'd been dead 30 years already, and the flood that finally claimed these things was banal, a split pipe behind a wall in an empty house during the summer. The dumpster was filling. The shining of souvenir Panamanian currency. When you'd asked him about the service, he said not to apply for the money that comes to the children of veterans. The last will and testament of his father, its poor judgment and the broken ties he mentioned, the things unfathomable, the things themselves now beyond gone. A blue scarf embroidered with the initials of his second wife. No record of yourself there, except the wallet he carried in his last years. It had been raided of everything except your picture, well preserved behind a thin plastic shield. I'll go ahead and read through a few, and sometimes they make a series, so if you'd like to hold applause, that'd be great too, so you get to hear a little more. I appreciate it. Black-crowned night heron. Common enough, but usually not seen in the force of day. I'm struck by his sobriety, the way he leans in, plumage, a black jacket and cap. It looks like he's been through a lot. Stooped, vigilant, cautious, stalking something just out of sight below the fierce play of light and water. Or maybe that stocky pose is resolve to live with intention, bring back, with a little luck, the biggest catch he can to the nest they have built. Passion vine. I weigh the capacity of my yard to host another invasive. wilted in its plastic pot, a promise of flowers and globed fruit, intricacies of petal and stamen illustrating a Christ story, resilient and obscene with droplets of nectar, trembling coronas, anthers, and stigmata. By morning, tendrils have tethered the fence. It appears to be lifting itself out. I can't have this wildness happen here. This is called Certainty, and it's dedicated for Dad. At the dining room table, full dark, the incense of your cigarette bright, dull, bright. Arrayed around you, the long driveway, the road, the living room, the hallway. No one could leave or approach without triggering you. Sleep, fugitive. So old you are, like stone. I never asked you who you had been or what you had done. I felt its shape, your incessant, mute warning. This is called Homogeneity, and I wrote it about a year and a half ago. And it's sort of about just sort of the shift in culture and media in the last 2 years. Too much salt can screw up anything, sabotage a gas tank, make fields useless for food, drive blood pressure so high you fissure and ooze like a slow leaking tube. There was a white noise campaign where everything droned with a double-time throb, creation with just one spice, each bite like cinders. The same, march in place, face forward, crises falling like metronomic bouquets of amplitude, assaulted, yet preserved, fixed on a slide in brine. Prolepsis. What you leave behind are capsules of impulse. What you know remains like the gathering of trinkets in fraying silk change purses. You can't remember how they got there, but they trail translucent spirits of those who gave them. You condensed your mother's life to 2 cardboard boxes that remained under the china cabinet in plain view for 7 years. You know what is in them down to the last hair coiling occult in the brush. That is how life is, boxing of remnants, saving them with what's inside on quiet fire. They tie you to your days. When I think of you now, I remember the dogged becoming, the selves tossed like scarves to the gale as if there were plenty. Time stands still when we fling ourselves forward as we gather what we need. This is a poem that I wrote for Wayne State University. So when I read it, if you're familiar with Old Main, I was thinking of Old Main when I wrote it. Public, urban. If not here, then nowhere. The end of the shift torrid with molten heat. Up the staircase of Borea stone in a building with 4 clock faces, each telling its own time. A classroom oasis of scraping chairs, dusty with chalk, the books full of muscular metaphors or elusive equations. If you are the first, there is no good time to go, to professionalize, the city bursting with a mandate to manufacture, but if not then, through hardship, perhaps never. A university in a hurry did not start with the grant of land or a magnate's dream of an ivory tower bearing his name, but with the shoulder work of what must be done in this timeline with these resources. Days shaped by the commute, the crowding, the curriculum growing from the needs of the city's ad hoc eruption. Go here and stay working class. You go, even when it is hard to get here because of what you don't have to abandon to do so, because being with so many others holding on to what is important is rare. If not you, then maybe no one. Glittering tools of thought, access, the sense felt and seen that when you have a question here, someone of goodwill can assist you, and in doing so honors you and also the act of honest questioning.
That's nice.
Thanks. This is called Get Inside. His hand on my shoulder, a paw to hook me back in the house, away from the boy I would make all those mistakes with. Stupid, defiant stoop kiss, as much pageant for a jealous father as a goodnight sweetheart. No control at all over those soupy organs at my seat, time bomb breasts and string bikinis. I'm 14 and drunk on the cocktail my glands concoct. I'm weeks away from the standing sex in the Gulf of Mexico, the hours slipping on slick vinyl seats in a parked hatchback, fogging and stuck in golden sand. That one shoulder swipe, my father's only violence, what brought him to it, what he must have seen ahead. You're like, what am I skipping? What if I told you? What if I told you it was all a misunderstanding? You would never have been able to please your parents sober. You could not reverse their folly by being smarter, better, more beautiful, or by anticipating their needs more. What if I told you that you couldn't have made a difference even with all the magic in the universe? Those sad, broken, selfish people would still break your heart over and over. They would still just want to die slowly their way, even if you could drive the darkness out with a feather touch to their temples. This is for Frank, who's here, my husband. Our music. Think nothing of it. Hand your words, not even enough to be a poem, to that piano man. Who is he to you behind those mirrored glasses, a pilling fedora, gold thread fraying in the weave of his slick shirt? During the day, he pushes a pencil. You can see the shadow of the shirt he wears under the real shirt. Before the meeting, he will slide a silver disc in a plain sleeve across the table, saying only, "I finished it." Lines you wrote, now sturdy, percussive, transformed by witchcraft, alive. He will always want more words. Will put what you write in front of him. Wait for the feelings to become melody. They don't talk about what it does to you, writing songs. Sing something enough and it will happen. And this one is not about Frank. What didn't save the marriage? 3 palm trees edging a Florida bay. Irises I planted, now a snarl in Tennessee. The Maryland kitchen with its lazy Susan spices. A feral cat who materialized only for us, no matter where we lived. The pig plate that's followed me even to this house, hung above the sink like an admonition. Your grandmother's Nigella Satvia receding, the lace of its beseeching, twisting tendrils, oil from its black seeds, allegedly a cure for everything but death. My mother, tipsy, standing closer than you as we said homemade vows on the brink of the overlook. Earrings I fashioned from polymer clay in the shapes of a penis and vagina. My manic brother saying he'd kill you if you hurt me. A philosopher who blessed us in his house, full of hummingbirds, toucans, and dinosaur dung. I couldn't hike behind those falls, afraid of the unbroken roar of what had just been ice. potted Christmas trees with artisanal ornaments your mother bribed me with, the row of evergreen children they made on the back lot with the crooked dogwood your dad dug up from the hillside. Time near the end when you wrote me an essay to change my mind, even after I'd smashed it. In a parallel universe, 1. The embers of burning acorns, pine cones, and palmetto rise and fall neon red in a gust before the rain puts them out. The girl won't be at home that day, won't have a busted memory, or be riven by time. 2. Beanstalks in mist rising toward a full moon in rich soil, the imperceptible movement of tendril towards support, felt but not sure. The girl won't be at home that day, won't flash back to the handprint gray on the wall or the fingerprint powder on the dresser. 3. A lap swim on a snow day, safety orange banners slow waving over the pool, refracting in waves. The girl was home that day, but hid. She heard the lock Jimmy because she was awake and made herself very small, like a milkweed in a wheat field. Listen carefully. On days when I wore tickled pink lipstick, I'd put on my blue suede shoes and rock the mud puddles. Another shade I favored was habanero, since it clashed with the halo of gauze that was my chlorinated hair. When I played in the jade open meadow, I dug my fingers into thick red clay, tinting my lips with carnelian sand. And I will have 2 more, so wrapping it up. These are both Florida poems, my hometown. I think of Florida still wrecking my skin, sun that burned me like campfire, even now smoldering radioactive in the cells, pores on the bridge of my nose, opening yet to new fissures ever in need of sanding. Fins, sometimes porpoise, sometimes shark, that time when the only thing to do was to punch the hammerhead in the face and wait to see if it worked. Witch first kiss, all of them bittersweet like tangerines fermenting, frothy. Sandwich cookie crumbs falling like meteors in candlelight as we huddled in the culvert, the scent of burning pine needles settling in our hair. Porcelain, mortar, and pestle, the serious business of grinding acorns for squirrels. We wanted to provide some service, even to imaginary someones, do some meaningful work. Where I grew up. The house far back, at an obtuse angle, shunned the road. Drive paved in marl, gray mud dried in fissured peaks. Spears of yucca crowned with bright inflorescence shaded the windows, crowded the path to the front door. Vinyl furniture dark and slick, an ashtray dull, glowing brass on the couch, piled with stumps. The man slept on the couch, the woman slept on the other couch, tumblers ice melting in amber. Sunshine fierce beyond the door wall, a turquoise pool alive with motion. The girl ran across stamped concrete, jumped from the lipped edge, cannonballed to the bottom where she lay down, releasing breath, one perfect globe at a time. Each sphere of air rose, illuminated in currents, reached the top to quietly burst, or staying intact, drifted. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Pat Barnes, a longtime Metro Detroit poet who is a favorite with poetry audiences. Her work is witty, funny, and always leaving audiences with a good vibe and food for thought.
You know how
in fancy restaurants, they give you that little scoop of sorbet
Yeah.
to cleanse your palate between courses. That's what I am. I'm the palate cleanser between the beautiful things that have gone before and the wonderful Alinda Wasner who's coming after. Okay, this is called Chopsticks. My mother had 6 children, and all of them knew how to play chopsticks. She considered it the pianist's rite of initiation. If a kid had any keyboard talent at all, it would show up in that classic 2-fingered spinet-banging piece with the inscrutable Oriental name. Dynamics, interpretation, and gusto were noted as indications that piano lessons might be a worthy investment. But if your living room recital lacked luster, you never even made it to Thompson's Book 1. I actually made it to Thompson's Book 2, though it took me 3 years of lessons with Sister Angela Therese, who did not have the patience of a saint, but was required by her vow of obedience to drill little Catholics in scales and finger positions. It was purgatory all around. Mother finally decided that my chopsticks had been a flash in the pan. I was permitted to abandon all hope of a concert career and take up tap dancing. I was free to shuffle off to Buffalo and listen to my sisters play chopsticks. And on the darker side, Uncle Stan, you are dead, so I can say anything I want about how you scared me with the way you yelled. I am yelling this at you. I am saying little girls should not have to hear big men yell at their wives. So maybe you would say you weren't yelling at me, so I should shut up. But see how you say shut up? That is not what you should say to a little girl visiting her darling aunt and scary uncle. How could you yell at her? All she did was take care of you, cook your dinners, iron your shirts, keep your shoes polished with her own spit. I heard the loud bad words, saw you raise your hand. I covered my ears but couldn't run. So years later, when I got the news, I knew why. She had hanged herself in her closet. It was the yelling, and it was because I had heard. Woo! All right, never mind, that's done.
Back to chopsticks.
Thanksgiving tradition. The kids pulled day-old bread into chunks. I chopped onions till I cried. Good turkey stuffing is seasoned with sage and tears. Most of the family prefers cranberry jelly served in the shape of the can, but an in-law brings her homemade lumpy stuff, hiding nasty bits of orange rind, and we pass it around as if we like it. When I was old enough to baste the turkey, I felt I should get to eat at the grown-ups table. After all, I had met the challenges, hot oven racks and sizzling drippings. Grandma watched and nodded. Still, I was assigned to the folding table set up for the kids. Turned out it was no judgment on my maturity, only a matter of the limited number of fine china place settings. When somebody dies, I'll move up. I'm trying not to think of anyone in particular. It's hard. Satan speaks. And the devil said, "Let there be gluttony. Let us make an overabundance available and serve it with encouraging smiles and flattery for the sinner's excellent choices. Let us make it the fashion to politely overindulge. Let us make it an art, a competition, a virtue to get one's money's worth at every all-you-can-eat opportunity. The slightest nudge towards a smorgasbord will get them rolling course by course towards disability. We will fatten them up to the sizzling point, and we will make dieting hell." And this is my last one. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Just me rapping. I rub 'em on, I swallow 'em down, even inject 'em without a frown, 'cause it's old or dead. I take my meds. Remember this about Eliquis. It keeps blood flowing, no damn clots going to the lungs or brain, 'cause a stroke's a strain on independent living, and the peace it's given to take care of yourself, not stuck on the shelf out of the way 'cause you had your day. Cholesterol, plaque attack could set me back, so I keep track of my HDL and LDL. What the hell? Lovastatin keeps my numbers low, 'cause I just ain't ready to go. Osteoporosis, let me take a calcium pill so my bones don't break. Don't put me there in that wheelchair. I need another chance to dance. Pass the fish oil, pass the Tums, pass the floss to save my gums. Baby aspirin does the trick to help my aging ticker tick. Arthritis is a bane, makes me stiff, gives me pain, but Advil drives that devil out. Plus, it even works on gout. I rub 'em on, I swallow 'em down, I even inject 'em without a frown, 'cause it's old or dead. I take my meds.
Our last reader, Alinda Dickinson Wasner, is the author of 4 collections of poetry, the most recent being When You Don't Know Who You Are, published by Crisis Chronicles Press. Winner of several U.S. poetry prizes and an international prize, her work can be found in numerous poetry and online journals. Called one of Detroit's best poets by Poet Laureate M.L. Liebler, Wasner is currently at work on a new collection, Too Much Love, Detroit Poems.
The first time I really notice you, you are carrying in a box of halos and artichokes, looking for somewhere to put them, though God knows there's no place to set anything in this kitchen. An old box of kosher salt having turned to granite on the countertop, and the Pisa of empty cottage cheese cartons leaning on every available surface, as if they've been here since the Depression, which they very may well have. Alongside the mountains of newspapers and professional journals. And you say, this has got to stop, meaning this place where your family lives is such a mess you're embarrassed for me to have to see it. And you have said this before, and now I have this sudden need to defend your mother, to tell you the old adage about the woman whose home is so ready for the unexpected guest, she's too tired to entertain. Because mostly, I want to make you laugh. I want you to find me attractive. I want suddenly to take the box from your hands, peel the oranges, cook the artichokes just for you, assuming you like artichokes, assuming I've ever prepared artichokes just for you, assuming I've ever prepared artichokes, but I can learn. Though mostly I want to take your face in my hands, your hands between mine, hold my palm to your palm and peer into the blue world of your eyes, measure the curve of your mouth with mine. I want to confess all things indecent, press your hair to your head just to see it spring back into place. Watch the way you stretch your arm behind your head as if reaching for an arrow from a quiver, a modern-day David, your gaze fixed on some distant idea. Lord knows I want to go crazy with love, or maybe I just want you to explain the physics of probability. It could be a TED Talk, a half hour to an hour designated to sustain my desire for the mere sight of you coming through that door with oranges and artichokes, a pink residue of light from the ceiling fixture on your hands, and your smile as you see me see you for the first time come through that door. And there is eternity. And today she promises she will go there and buy the house back, the one I sold when she was small, and live in it forever, because the bloom of light from the street lamp outside the bedroom windows spun the curtains into gold.
And in the deepest hour, the trains rumbled past, making the windows sing a little tune. And the floorboards hummed as if dreams tunneled under. And we were safe there together, she in her little bed beside my big one, where we reached our hands out and held on tight until morning painted the walls so delicious a yellow you wanted to lick them. And she swears she loved the smell of moss that made a tiny carpet just outside the back door, though I don't remember this, where the wind chimes argued day and night, and the spruce trees whispered the kind of secrets that made a little river inside her heart, the same river I kissed a boy in when I was her age and let him kiss me back. Dedicated to my dearest granddaughter Indira, the new Dudley Randall poet.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, please give us tonight. Just raise your hand for me. What have you done to my poor wild heart? The July heat, a holocaust so fiery and unbearable, even the trees were holding their breath. Still, she struggled into her corset and green wool dress to stand behind the counter at Grinnell Brothers and talk opera to the Jewish pharmacist who came in every day, who, she hoped, had no clue about Yoopers and how she had raised her 7 siblings on her own, and fled when she was 16, swearing she would push off any man who came too near. She'd learned that art with her father. But then there he was, no ring on his finger, and she violated her own vow when she told him she worked here only because she was paying her own way through nursing school. And when he asked which one, almost let her heart fly out of her throat, but instead pulled La Boheme out of its jacket and placed it on the turntable, and as it spun, tried not to picture herself with his hand on her waist as she wobbled in her high heel shoes, and then wrapped it as carefully as she would have an infant in its blanket as he laid the cash on the counter and smiled at her in such a way that she knew she was forever lost. The very idea of glass splintering under his heel and a canopy over their heads, as remote as the word shiksa must be to him, and the rhythm of the next customer drumming his fingers on the counter to command her attention, as the bell on the door reminded her that the pharmacist was gone too soon once again, almost before he even came in. And because it's Poets and Pies, I actually happen to have a poem that includes the word pie in it. Rereading Sandburg at the beach. Suddenly he looks so young now that I'm almost as old as he was when he was in vogue. Perhaps it's better this way. Would I have cared so much about unions when I was in 10th grade or read any but the Chicago poems? Those and the Cornhuskers and the Smoke and Steel are the ones that always get anthologized that teachers have to teach. For God's sake, he was my grandparents' contemporary, and I doubt they read him or discussed him or realized he was writing about them, for they were out there husking corn, riding the rails in search of work, not wanting much to have anything to do with cities, especially the windy one, but what choice did they have? When Uncle Lamoureux wrote home about having to stand in all that blood day after day in the slaughterhouse, I doubt he took out his volume of Sandburg for bedtime reading. Or that Aunt Laura, strong woman in her own right, ever had a chance to read his works by lamplight to her dying patients? We may never know. But they could have identified the bugs in the lily, and the magnolia would have recognized themselves in the splinters of the first frost and in the higher fiery heat of the big furnace. And they would have had him home for Sunday dinner to sit on the porch and ask him questions over pie. Had they known about him, had they heard his name, these people, yes. Just one more short one. Twice. Midsummer, summer's end, I see you coming toward me across the sand. Your hand a triangle of light raised in greeting, and my heart, that feather, lifts and dives and strays so far, so fast. I have no time to even think to try to stop it. Thank you.
You've been listening to a selection of readings from Joyce Jenkins, Carolyn Maun, Pat Barnes, and Alinda Wasner. These readings were recorded at a Detroit Writers Guild Poets and Pies event at the St. Clair Shores Library.
Thanks for joining us. Look for more episodes of All Right in Sin City wherever you listen to podcasts, or check out our website, allrightinsincity.com. For information and announcements of new podcasts, sign up to our email list or follow us on Facebook and Twitter.